Welcome to this YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to talk about top 10 scariest things caught on camera in the woods. So before starting this video, please like this video, and subscribe to this channel for our future updates. Like much of our world, the woods are full of dark and horrifying mysteries. Let's start. Number 10. A mysterious figure in the fog. There's nothing scary about this particular photograph. It simply looks like a picture of three friends who wanted to remember their journey in the creepy wooded area. However, if you look to the right of the group, you'll soon notice that there's a figure hiding in the fog between two trees. Sure, maybe it's just another person passing through the woods, but the people who took the picture don't recall seeing anyone else while out on their journey. What a terrifying image to stumble upon afterward. The scariest part about the figure in the back is that it doesn't look human. The torso looks much shorter and bigger than the average man, with skinny legs to match. It makes us think that maybe the figure is hunching over or just has a scarier demeanor altogether. No matter what the case, photographs like these make us not want to go into the woods, like ever. Number 9. What happened to his head? Deer's biggest predators in the woods are usually wolves, coyotes, and humans. With humans, most of the time, we shoot them with guns or bows and arrows, usually giving them a quick death. When it comes to wolves and coyotes, they usually attack the throat first to put the deer out of misery before devouring their meal. In the case of this deer, however, we have to wonder what on earth happened to it to cause it to bleed from its head. Some speculate that it got into a fight with another deer, but the amount of blood, and the fact that it's still alive could potentially indicate something else. Trail cams are great as they offer a different perspective of wildlife. However, with that comes an entirely new perspective. Now have to wonder what terrifying things happen in the woods to cause all of these horrifying pictures. Number 8. A happy execution. The photograph above might look like a joke, but it is not at all. The man about to be executed is smiling big as though he's part of an elaborate prank. In reality, he's a Russian spy about to be executed in Finland in 1939. You might wonder what he could be smiling about, if he knew something we didn't, or if there was some sort of humorous element to this entire situation. The reality is much more simple. He simply knew there was no way out and that these were his final moments. Since it was going to be photographed, he decided to do nothing other than a smile. This was his last attempt at defiance, a final way to show that those killing him still held no other power over him and that he was at peace with his death. For many spies, they knew that this would likely be their fate, and he had still done all he could to fulfill his duty. Number 7. What is growing on him? The photograph above is pretty hard to look at given the massive growth sprouting out of the deer's side. This image was one that was captured on a trail cam. The deer seems to be normal, not crying in pain and still able to walk upright. For us, however, looking at it can be extremely difficult. It looks so painful to be covered in such massive growths all over his body. Are you able to look at the picture without feeling a little sick? Many speculate that the deer are suffering from a bad case of warts, or potentially a protein reaction from eating the wrong type of feed. Either way, there's no way to be sure. Perhaps it's something more terrifying than either of those things. No matter what the deer was suffering from, we surely hope that it was rare and that the deer's okay now, because we don't know how many more terrifying pics like this we can stomach. Number 6. A carcass becomes one with nature. The photograph above was taken by someone traveling through the woods. As you can see, it looks as though it's the decomposed corpse of a deer. There's nothing too out of the ordinary until you look closely, and realize that mushrooms are growing where the deer's body was decaying. A picture like this can turn our stomachs for several reasons. What might have happened to the deer that caused it to die here? There's a good chance it died of natural causes, but was there something about the death that made it sprout mushrooms once the corpse decomposed? Something caused the fungus to come out of the ground. Was it just the decaying corpse, or something much more sinister? Some might think it's a beautiful display of how nature works when no one's watching. Others find the photograph hard to look at without feeling very itchy and sick all over. Number 5. What could that black figure be? As we just mentioned, trail cameras can capture terrifying things in nature, as well as normal occurrences. In the case of this particular picture, we're left with a bit of a mystery. Some might say that the black figure lying on the ground in the photograph above is simply a bear. However, the way that it's positioned, and the overall shape of it makes that a bit hard for us to believe. The shape of the head and the way that it's lying make it look almost human-like. Even the deer in the back is like, WTF is that? Furthermore, when you look at the creature's foot, it looks a bit misshapen to be a bear's. Also, what kind of bear just plops down in the middle of the woods alone? There are countless terrifying urban legends of horrifying things living in the woods, like Bigfoot and the Jersey Devil. What do you think this might be? Number 4. Unknowingly snapping an injured victim. The photograph above was taken by a hiker who was hoping to capture his friend scaling the cliff. He succeeded in that, but he also ended up snapping something more terrifying in the background. It's rather hard to tell, but looking through the trees on the bottom right, you can see something small and red. That's the head and the red hair of a different hiker who had fallen hours before. She sustained such serious injuries that she wasn't able to call for help. Her friend had fallen as well and unfortunately didn't make it. These hikers later found the fallen girl that they accidentally took a picture of, and were able to take her to safety and help her with her injuries. A photograph like this is a reminder that we need to be more aware of our surroundings, and that something in the background might be much more than just a trick of the eye. Number 3. Hanging dolls in the forest. This photograph of the island of the dolls is terrifying without necessarily meaning to be. After a resident of the island found the remains of a little girl in the water on the shore, he was haunted by her lost life. To help make her soul feel more comfortable while roaming the island, and hope to help her find peace, he started hanging dolls in the trees. The trend caught on, and before anyone knew it, it became the island of the dolls. Years later, with many tourists coming through, the dolls have been subjected to various weather conditions, and years of this caused some of the dolls to be decapitated, deformed, and mutated looking. What was once supposed to be a cute way to help remember an innocent life lost has become a terrifying tourist destination that looks like something straight from a Stephen King novel. Number 2. Suicide forest in Japan. Aokigahara is probably one of the world's most terrifying forests. It's a forest in Japan known for being a destination spot for tourists, but is more often visited by people who wish to commit suicide. For this reason, many believe the forest to be a terrifying wooded area filled with the roaming spirits of those who took their own lives. The photograph above was one of the many horrifying images that have been taken in the forest. If you visit this wooded area, you'll see many signs around begging those visiting to think of their families and friends before taking their own lives. Unfortunately, those signs don't work for many, and the result is many images like the ones in the photograph above littered throughout these woods. It's horrifying to think that not all of the bodies are removed, and that some remain to become part of the woods in which they took their own lives. Number 1. The evidence in a missing persons case. The photograph above doesn't look like much, but if you peer into the red circle, you can potentially make out what looks like a body. Surely, if you take a blurry and dark photograph of the woods at night, you'll find some figure that you can claim to be a body, but this particular photograph is different. It was found on the camera that belonged to Lisanne Froon and Chris Kramers. These two girls had hoped to go on a backpacking adventure together, but unfortunately, their bodies never returned. The girls had been missing for several days, before an eerie set of dark photographs were taken on one of their cameras. They had attempted to make 911 calls, so many believe that they were injured during their travels, and being unable to get through to an emergency contact, died from their injuries. Some believe the dark photographs were taken as a way to either give themselves light and a way to see what was ahead, or worse, possibly capture whatever it was that caused him to disappear in the first place. What do you think of our list? Which of the story left you shocked? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.